I 34 have been with my husband 37 for 2 years. He has a 9-year-old daughter with his ex-wife, Nora, and the reason for the divorce was financial. But she told me he initiated after she got diagnosed with cancer. Now cancer has come back and I feel sorry for her because she's a decent woman overall. Due to treatment schedule, Nora only gets visitation with my stepdaughter for now. My husband drives my stepdaughter to see her mom 2 days a week. Yesterday he came home saying Nora wasn't home and he and my stepdaughter had to leave after waiting for an hour. He then went into the bedroom, stayed there for some time, then went out to visit his friend. I was cleaning the bedroom and found a gold bracelet that looked familiar. I realized it belonged to Nora as I'd seen her wear it before. I was confused. I waited till he got home to ask him about it. His reaction wasn't good. He lashed out and took it out of my hand saying I shouldn't touch his personal stuff. I said this wasn't his stuff, this is Nora's. I asked if he took this bracelet behind her back and he said no. Nora gave it to him so he could give it to their daughter once she's 20 in case something happens to Nora. I don't know why, but I didn't believe him. I told him I would call Nora to ask her, but he started yelling at me to stay out of his family business. We started arguing and I kept demanding he tell me how and why he got this bracelet. He refused to say anything first, then he admitted going into Nora's room and taking it while she was out. I told him this wasn't okay, but he said this was his right after he spent money on her treatment before but never got his money back. I was shocked by this statement. They were married back then and he shouldn't expect to be repaid. I got mad and told him he has 1 day to return the bracelet or I'll tell Nora and let her involve the authorities if she had to, cause the bracelet looked heavy and pricey. He begged me to stay out of it, but I refused. He said I was being malicious and should side with him, not threaten him, but I refused to negotiate anything, and I'm responsible for my word now. Nora is a decent woman who's struggling and I feel like she should know she can't trust her own daughter's father in her home after this. He said if I go through with this then this will ruin our relationship so badly, but I said I'm still standing by my word. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You seem weirdly attached to the idea that this matter only concerns Nora and not you particularly. Your husband doesn't sound like a good person. He left a woman for financial reasons, right? She was diagnosed with an expensive life-threatening illness. Then he stole from her and lied to you about it. Why are you married to a person who would do that? What does this tell you about how he might treat you someday? You are a kind and ethical woman. He is not that kind of man. Give the bracelet back. And then take a good hard look at whether you want to stay married to this man who has already abandoned a woman when she was diagnosed with cancer, expects repayment for what he contributed to her cancer treatments, and is threatening your relationship if you return something he stole. Do you really want to be with this man? Not the idiot. I know you're married and you love him, but this is a serious issue and speaks to the person he is. The outright lie and the way he treats a woman he allegedly loved. He loves you now too. There's no reason to believe he won't do the same to you, or even doing something shady now. Stay out of family business. Hate to break it to you, but you are family now. If he doesn't see that there's even more going on in his brain than you can see, just watch you back with him. Not the idiot 100 times. I dated Kathy for a year and we have a daughter together, Maddie, 8. We tried 50-50 custody, but Kathy has 2 kids from a previous relationship that constantly bullied Maddie. She'd come home in tears and refused to leave my side every week. Then she married Paul, who had 4 of his own kids, and they had 3 more together. They had a 4-bedroom house when they moved in together. Maddie also has dyspraxia, anxiety, and sensory processing disorder. She already struggled living with her 2 half-sisters half the time, and the extra people was just too much for her. Her first, and only, week with all of the step and half-siblings, she hid in a cabinet until I came to pick her up a few hours later. Kathy tried to ease her into it, but Maddie just couldn't handle being around so many people, so she gave me full custody right before Maddie's 3rd birthday. I agreed to let her visit whenever she wanted as long as she told me a day in advance. At first, she used to visit Maddie at least once a week. She'd take her to the playground, the zoo, out for picnics, and to the beach. As she had more and more kids and her bio and step kids got older and had busier schedules, the visits started to decrease. She's been seeing Maddie once a month at best for years now. I married Lori when Maddie was 5 and Maddie adores her. She calls Lori her mommy and they do everything together. Kathy never liked that Maddie had another mommy, but she never said anything to Maddie. A few months ago Maddie and Kathy went to the zoo. Maddie was having a rough day, so I sent her with a phone and told her to call us if she needed to come home. Kathy returned Maddie that evening and Maddie immediately ran to Lori and refused to let go. Apparently Maddie decided that she wanted to go home shortly after they got to the zoo, but Kathy refused to take her home and took her phone when she tried to call because Maddie kept asking for her mommy even though she was with her real mommy. Maddie hasn't wanted to see Kathy since and I haven't forced her. Kathy texted me yesterday and said that she wants to take Maddie to the park tomorrow and I said no. She reminded me that I promised that she could see Maddie whenever she wanted and I told her that things are different now and I don't feel comfortable letting her see my daughter after the zoo incident. She came to my house demanding to see Maddie and is now threatening to go to court for custody, so I wanted to know if I was the idiot. Not the idiot. Your daughter hardly knows her biological mother, and doesn't accept your new wife yet. She has what seems nearly a dozen children with her new husband. She tried having a relationship but it seems she failed. Where she really went wrong was taking away property you gave her in order to contact you in case of whatever. What most people either won't want to understand or fail to understand is at this point it can be considered kidnapping since you have full custody. You don't have to let your ex see her period if you don't want to, and I wouldn't either just for the phone situation alone. Not the idiot. But the second she utters the words custody and court, I would direct any further communication to an attorney. Or at least document and further conversations, if possible. If she has an official diagnosis, her doctor should be able to document what your daughter's precise needs are and how your ex is supposed to navigate them. Her jealousy doesn't give her a free pass to be petty to her daughter and potentially hurt her with her childish behavior. Take her to court. These actions are grounds for supervised visitation, because your daughter was that uncomfortable. Not the idiot. Protect your kid from her because she can't just decide and dictate terms when she's only a parent once a month. I'm also a petty idiot and would take her to court for child support, if you're not getting any? Since the conditions of the custody agreement are because she wasn't putting your kid in situations that were in her best interest. So, 3 weeks ago I, 28, married my wife, 27. The wedding was all planned out and ready as we had been planning it before the whole COVID situation happened, and we finally thought it was time to tie the knot. I asked my best friend, let's call him Derek, to be my best man along with his 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl, to be our flower girl and ring bearer. We adored the kids and we were their godparents, so we obviously wanted to include them in some sort of way. They all agreed as long as the kids' mother, Derek's girlfriend, was allowed to come as a guest. My wife and I agreed and we gave her an invitation which included a dress code, aka, don't wear white or anything that resembles a wedding dress. The day of the wedding came and Derek told me his girlfriend was going to be a bit late. I was fine with it cause I wasn't close to her at all. In fact, she only agreed for us to be the godparents of her kids because they liked us so much. She then came in just before my wife was meant to be coming down, wearing a short white imitation wedding dress. When I asked Derek what the hell she was wearing, he told me that she wasn't wearing white. It was pearl, so this already infuriated me. When my wife began walking down the aisle, she noticed her and became visibly upset, but then continued to put a smile on her face. Once we got to the reception, and all the kids were sent home, we all became a bit drunk. Derek then asked to do an announcement. At first I thought he was going to talk about us or about my wife and I as it was our wedding. Instead he was drunkenly mumbling about something along the lines of thought it was the perfect time, then proceeded to propose to his girlfriend. My wife went to the bathroom as she was upset that they were taking the spotlight. I became angry and asked Derek and his girlfriend to leave the wedding and they refused. It got to the point where I had to calm my wife down just to be able to cut the cake. When we cut the cake, my drunk butt threw it at Derek's girlfriend's dress and ruined it. I did tell them I'll pay for the dry cleaning but to get the hell out my wedding, which they proceeded to do. Now Derek and his girlfriend are calling me an idiot for ruining the dress, which I have paid for dry cleaning, along with embarrassing them at my own wedding. I managed to get in contact with her family and they all said the dress had no value within the family. And, my family continued to send me hate for not apologizing to them first and being the bigger person. So am I the idiot for being drunk and stupid when they took away my wife's spotlight on her special day? I do know there was probably a better way to handle it, but I was drunk and just wanted to get back at them for ruining the love of my life's special day. But am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Your ex-best friend and his girlfriend are completely classless and their behavior was inexcusable, but you really could have done better. If it's any consolation, they were way worse than you. They went out of their way to hijack your wedding and make it about themselves. Who the hell does that? And you got them to leave the only way you knew how. But you caused a scene at your own wedding and upset a lot of people. Not a good look at all. Not the idiot, and a virtual round of applause for you. They were disrespectful to you and your wife in so many ways. It is never okay to use someone else's wedding as your platform for your proposal without permission. This, in addition to the white dress, seems planned ahead. What guy would ever refer to a dress as pearl instead of white? These are not good friends or people. They did have a chance to leave peacefully but didn't take it. Not the idiot. Having read so many of these stories, at this point I really wonder whether it's become necessary to send a short note with every invitation with a list of things not to do, like not to wear either a white or white presenting dress, propose to your GF, announce a pregnancy, etc. The number of dense people who don't understand that people who spend months and thousands of dollars on a one-off celebration are doing it so you can hijack it for your own announcements. I, 21, have never had troubles when it comes to money. I come from a financially comfortable family, and am shortly planning to move abroad for further education, post which I'll settle down there. Since high school, I've been working so I could be independent. However, my dad has graciously offered to pay for my postgraduate degree abroad to prevent me from being stuck with a study loan, and we worked out that I'd pay him back eventually. I am putting this bit of information here not to brag but because it's relevant later. So, I've had this best friend since middle school. We'll call her AC. While she doesn't come from a lot of money, her family is financially stable. AC, however, hasn't started working yet, and she completely depends on her parents. She has pretty expensive tastes, far more than what her parents can afford to pay for at times. Everything she owns has to be branded. She even judges me when I buy jewelry from the flea market, as she thinks it's tacky and cheap. She's an only child, but not too long ago, parents decided to cut her off. Ever since then, she's had me pick up her tabs whenever we hang out. I didn't mind first, as the restaurants we were going to were affordable. AC had wanted to try this fine dining restaurant at the expensive side of the city for a while, and we had a huge festival, cultural, going on. This happened approximately 2 weeks ago. I assumed that we would go Dutch as previously. AC was boasting about how much money she'd received from relatives as a gift during the festival. However, soon as we were handed the bill, AC looked at me expectantly. She used to ask earlier if I could cover her, but she got so in the habit of me paying that she just waited for me to do it without even asking. I laughed and told her I couldn't afford to pay all of it, and we'd have to pay for our own parts. She told me to pay this time as she didn't have any money. I asked her about the checks she'd received as gifts, and she told me she was saving them up to buy a gold necklace. I told her I was willing to split it instead of paying for only my part. She had ordered a lot more than me, but I didn't want to argue over it longer. This pissed her off, and she told me I was being stuck up and since I was rich, I should be the one paying. I told her that I was paying for the meal out of my own pocket, not my parents', but she mentioned that my dad was going to pay my tuition and said I was entitled, privileged and bratty for that. And since he was helping me with moving abroad, I could afford to spend a little. She also accused me of not caring for her or our friendship. I was so upset at that point that I put cash worth half the bill on the table and left. Later, I learned that her dad had to bail her out. And she has been posting about me on social media, and making me feel bad for abandoning her like that. So I don't know if I should have left the way I did. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but I wouldn't really consider her your friend at this point. She's been using you to pay for going out to eat and being an entitled spoiled brat about it. When you finally had enough and put your foot down, she throws a fit. You didn't abandon her. She's a big girl and needs to start paying her own way. If she can't afford it, too bad for her. You're not responsible for her poor financial planning. Stop going out to eat with her and find some friends that don't use you. I have had a few rich friends, still do and proud to call them friends, and I would never think of mooching. I had few difficulties once and my friend tried to get me to talk. I wouldn't. She tried to help me out of a tight hole knowing I wouldn't accept. She ended up throwing the money at me as she knew I would rather starve than mooch from her. In the end I took the money and paid her back in full 1 week later. She is still one of my best friends and knows that we are friends not because of her financial situation. Friends don't mooch and then gaslight you. Not the idiot, she's treating you like her personal bank and it will only get worse from there. You need to cut your friendship now, or at the very least establish boundaries, because if you don't, she will continue to use you for the rest of your life. If you decide to go somewhere with her again, straight up tell her that she must pay for what she gets and only pay for yourself before doing anything. When the bill comes, if she refuses, just pay for your stuff and walk out. Make sure she always has her wallet with her, otherwise she may pull the "I left my wallet at home" trick.